Hi, everybody. It's Tonya Duncan Ellis, author of the Sophie Washington series, with another episode of Write This, my author interview show. I am so happy to see you here and to have on another great author and another great guest. Sharifa Anozie, who is an indie author out of Los Angeles, is going to be joining us to give tips on how to get our books in bookstores. And she is the founder of the Author Hive Clubhouse community for authors, which has been fantastic. It's a great resource where authors can learn about self-publishing, all the ins and outs of self-publishing, marketing their books, and finding readers for their books. So that community has just exploded over the past little over a year since she started it, and I've been watching her on Instagram, learning from her page. So I'm really excited to have her on today and learn more about the tips that she has to share on getting books in bookstores. And I believe that she also has a course on it, so we'll check with her to get details on how we can join that. And thank you all for coming, and I see some familiar faces on. Happy to see you all, and can't wait to get information. And while we're waiting for Sharifa to join us, if anybody has any questions that they might want to pose, you can go ahead and put those in the comments, and I'll check those out to ask her when she gets on. So we're waiting for her to arrive and hope she'll be on soon. She also did contact me yesterday and said that one of her little ones had been exposed to COVID at preschool. So I hope that there's no issues with that. So we've got someone on there. Happy New Year. I see some of my fellow authors from the Own Voices Book Challenge. And some of you who are authors, if you're newer authors looking for community, the Own Voices Book Challenge is a great place to meet other authors. They give prompts for Instagram posts that can help you grow your Instagram audience. So you can join on with the Own Voices Book Challenge. You can find them with that hashtag. And the founder is T. Theor. So if you want to join in with another author community, that's one that I highly recommend. So we're waiting for her to join. I messaged her earlier, and she I hadn't heard from her, so I'm hoping that there's no problems and that she and her family are well. So, and I see one great question here. Someone is posing, asking if it's easier to get books in independent stores or franchise or Black-owned based on her experience. So that's a great question that we can ask her when she pops on. And let me send her, I'm going to send her a request and see what's going on. So I don't see her on here now. Maybe that'll get her on. So, okay, someone asked me to repeat the group to join. The group that I'm recommending is the Own Voices Book Challenge. So you can find them with hashtag Own Voices Book Challenge. And the host is T. Theor. And I loved that group when I haven't been participating the past couple of months because I've been busy with some other things, but it's a great way to get community with other authors, and they give prompts for your Instagram posts. So if you're struggling with figuring out what to post, she has a monthly calendar that you can follow and get posts. And then in the community, they have a Facebook group where they ask questions of each other and just support each other. So it's a great support group for authors with new books out. So let's see. I'm hoping that she comes now. If something happens and she doesn't make it, okay. It's saying she's unable to join. Let's see what's going on here. Then I'm going to be on here answering questions from you guys. Let's see what is happening. Let me invite her again. See what's going on, because I hope she's okay. She sent it. Something happened last night and she sent me the message. Okay, yay, she's here. Okay, I see her here. So let's see if she can get on here. I'm inviting you on here. I sent you the invitation, so hopefully she'll be on here in just a second. I'm so excited to meet her because I have been so impressed with all she's doing and how she's grown all this community with authors. See what's going on. So Sharifa, what's going on? Can you get on here? What's happening? I keep sending her invites, and some reason she's, yay, there you are.
Hi.
I've been praying for you. I said, oh no, I hope those babies don't get sick. Oh my goodness.
No, they're good. They're just home and being loud. So I had to do a lot of bribery for me to get on here right now. So
Well, a lot of us are moms, so we understand. So even if they make noise, that's fine. We'll just keep on going.
yes.
But I am so happy to have you and happy for your time. I know how busy you are. And I've been watching you for the past year online, and I've been so impressed with all that you've been doing and just excited about how you've been helping all these authors out here with your Author Hive community and all the information that you share on your page. So thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started, about your books, and how you got started with helping with the indie author community?
Sure. So I am a journalist by trade. I've been writing my whole life. I worked mostly in hard news when I first started. So I worked at CBS News in New York. I'm originally from New York. And while I was there, I was like, I really want to do more entertainment stuff. And I just felt this like pull to come to Los Angeles. And so I moved here. This year actually makes 10 years that I've been in LA. And so I wanted to pursue my entertainment career here. And I worked for the Hollywood Reporter and did a lot of like red carpet interviews and that sort of thing. And then in 2016, I became a mom. And of course, we read a ton of books and all the time. And at that time, it was also transitioning to not being in the entertainment industry anymore. And so it just kind of gave me that freedom to actually go for it and write the book that I always knew that I had on the inside. And so that first book is called It's in You, a book for big dreamers, because I am a big dreamer. And then the second I funded via Kickstarter, which was called Sibling Love, and that one is based off my two kids, just their relationships, the ups and downs of having a sibling. And the reason I launched the Author Hive is because on my journey of becoming an author, I would just get inundated with a ton of messages like, how do you do this? How did you get here? How did you do this? And then I just saw there was a need for help, and I am a teacher also at heart. My grandparents were teachers, and so I just enjoy helping others that are coming behind me. And so I figured let me create a space, a safe space where we can encourage each other, where we can help with marketing, whatever it is that you need, courses, classes, free tips, advice, that kind of thing. And so that was kind of what birthed the Author Hive. And it really started first on Clubhouse because that happened during the pandemic. Like, it was hard to reach out to people, but Clubhouse gave an opportunity to connect with people from all, across, borders, because, we were all stuck inside the house. And so we were able to build a community there. And now it's about like 5,000 members. And so we're also on Instagram. We're also on Facebook, private group on Facebook, and slowly growing. But yeah, so that's it.
Okay, that's great. I didn't know it had a Facebook group, so I may join that because I don't get on Clubhouse too much. Okay, that's good to know. Now, I wanted really specifically to get you on. I've seen your post talking about how you've been getting your books into bookstores, and that's a dream of many indie authors, is to have see their book on that bookstore shelf. So can you share a little bit? I know you have a course which people can pay to join her course and get even more details. But could you give some general ideas and tips for authors who aspire to have their books in bookstores? Tell a little bit about the process and what they need to do.
Yeah, sure. So I think it first starts with the quality of the work always, right? And that's in everything. So I can give advice about how to get into the store, but always make sure that you have a wonderful cover, that it is not edited just one time, but like 3-4 times. I talk to a lot of authors who kind of just want to skip all of that and just jump to the part of their book getting into Barnes and Nobles. And I always say, like, don't be in a rush. Like, if you have followed me and you have paid attention, like that moment of Barnes and Nobles was a slow buildup of a lot of work to get to that point. I didn't like just jump to Barnes and Nobles. And I'll be very frank and honest that Barnes and Nobles is a dream, but in terms of like my highlight of my major sales or anything, it actually isn't Barnes and Nobles. Like, I've done very well at my local indie stores that I've connected with, and that is where, like, I will say I've made great sales, or even doing like in-person events. And so, back to just having a quality book is just so important, because even when you approach someone, a lot of these stores are like, are you self-published? We already have that stigma of a self-published book not being so great. And so you want to dispel all those stigmas and come with your best work and have them guess, like, oh, wow, you're self-published. I love when I get that, because that lets me know that my work is, comparable to the traditional books out there. If you can't tell that I'm self-published, that's a great thing. So I would say strive for that. If you're a newbie, if you haven't even published yet, make sure your cover, like, do what you can. There's a Facebook group that's actually called like Cover Critique, and you can drop your cover in there, and it's just honest review. Like, I think you should change the color of this. I think you should move this up here. And it really, like, you can see the impact it does make. Just those slight little changes of, making certain words bigger, that kind of thing really does help, a cover. So starts with quality work. And then I would say also to do your due diligence and making sure that you are doing the right steps, like not, I know there's some authors who have only published with Amazon and used Amazon's free ISBN, and it's all about Amazon. But you have to remember that Amazon is a competitor of bookstores. Amazon is the biggest platform that you can sell your book on, but it's not the only place. And so if you lock in with them and you only have their ISBN and you only print with them, you're basically stuck with Amazon. And you cannot take an Amazon book with an Amazon ISBN to a bookstore. They don't want it because that's their competitor. And so just doing your due diligence in that way, and finding out, like, okay, how do I get my own ISBN number? You definitely want to apply for that and go to Valker.com or My Identifiers. That's where you're supposed to get your ISBNs from. I always recommend that you get a pack of 10, so that, because you never know how many books you're going to end up doing. And then once you get all that, so you got quality work, you got your own ISBN, and then you need copies of the book. So either you're going to be printing them at an offset printer, so overseas in China, or maybe locally. You can print it locally for here in the United States. I know some authors do use their author copies via Amazon. I guess as long as you don't tell the bookstore that you printed it, printed it there, or it may not even matter to them. As long as it doesn't have their ISBN, I think it should be fine. And then some, every bookstore is different from what I've seen. Some don't mind soft cover, but most of them prefer a hardcover book. So you definitely want to have your book available in multiple formats. And then what else? I would say also make sure your book is on Ingram Spark, because a lot of bookstores will say, hey, do you have a distributor? And that's usually a keyword for, are you on Ingram Spark? And you'll say, yes, I am. You can order it there. And then they'll check it out to see if you have, so when you go on Ingram Spark to make it available for bookstores, I believe you have to have it listed as returnable. And you also have to have it around like 50% discounted, or at least around that mark. That's what the typical bookstore is going for.
Right. Well, those are great tips. And I'm glad you mentioned Ingram, because I was going to say, if they don't, they may say, I've had people ask me, well, if I don't go on Amazon, what should I do? So you need, and I print my books on Amazon and Ingram.
Okay.
So you can get them on both platforms to get the Amazon rankings and things, but also have things available for bookstores to order.
Yes.
So those are great tips. Now, I've seen that you actually offer a course. Do you still have that course where people can pay you for information on doing that? Can you give information about that if they want to sign up for your course?
Sure. It's all on the Author Hive. So on the Author Hive, it's theauthorhive.com. You can sign up there. I have, information for printers. I have various classes. We're coming with more for 2022. If you want to figure out how to link with influencers, that's coming soon. But yeah, it's the authorhive.com. You'll find how to get into indie stores, and you can play the video at your convenience because it's easily download.
Now, speaking of influencers, I've seen that you were somehow connected with Tabitha Brown. Now,
Yeah.
Can you share that? What is that all about?
Yeah. So what was it? When I first I dropped my book April of 2020. Now it's all confusing now because we've been locked up in the house so long. Like 2020. But yeah, when around June of 2020, so my book was only like fairly a couple months, new. I actually had sent her. So she did this thing that was like Very Good Mondays, where she highlighted mostly Black-owned companies, it seemed to be. And so people were just sending her like a bunch of stuff, like candles and earrings and whatever. And she would shout out the companies and say, thank you for this, whatever. So I was like, oh, I need to send. I sell jewelry. That's my other business that I've had since 2014. And it's a faith-based jewelry. And I know that she seems to always, speak on God and seems to be a woman of faith. So I was like, oh, I got to send her my jewelry. And at the very last minute, I was like, you know what, let me put my book in the package as well. Although I know she has like older kids, I just figured like, let me just drop it in there too. And so about 2 weeks later, after I had shipped it off, my Instagram was just like, bing, 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 bing. And I was like, what is going on? And I got a message from her and she was like, I love your book. Thank you for inspiring. I just read it for, Tab's reading, and she read it, and it got blasted to her Instagram, her YouTube, basically all her platforms. And she had at that time, she had 2 million something followers just on Instagram. Wow. And so then the next day, my book went #1 bestseller on Amazon because, of course,
you should hype that up more, because I just kind of noticed that going through your information. You need to be hyping that up more.
I hype it up all the time.
Yeah, that is awesome. Yeah. Congratulations.
I actually use that since we were talking about bookstores. So one tip is that, I say you don't want to talk about Amazon when you're reaching out to a bookstore, right? So what I suggest is always finding something that is noteworthy about your book to highlight. And for me, it is Tabitha. I do mention that of all the books that she's got sent, she chose my book to read. And now, since following that, now she's a New York Times bestseller. Now she has a restaurant, like she has really exploded. And so I'm forever like grateful for her that. And I continue to support, I just went to her restaurant the other day, and her and I, we follow each other. So I'll send her a message, or she'll say thank you, that kind of thing. And I actually went to her book tour as well. And it was crazy because I was standing in the line and I had my books with me. And then some of the people next to me were like, oh, that's the book that she read. And I sold 4 copies while I was standing in the line. So I'm like, man, Tabitha and she just continued to get me these sales. I gotta forever keep that connection for sure.
Right. And that is so wonderful. And so she has a course on influencer marketing. So that
I have that coming soon. Yeah.
Oh, coming soon. Yeah. I'm looking for that one. I need to hear that. Yeah. Well, that is good. So it's basically sounds like it's a step-by-step process. Now, before you popped on, someone was asking, do you find it easier to get in Black-owned stores, or is the process any different, or how does that work?
That's a good question. So the first store I actually went to was not Black-owned. It was a mom and son. They're a white woman, and I went in there, and she's actually not a bookstore. She's more of a, I would say, children's store, and so she sells books and toys and clothes. But I could tell, I always go in the store because, of course, I have kids. And I could tell that she had a great eye because she's not selling, like, you go into some stores, you always see the same books. Like, her books are very like unique and just different topics, and I love that. And one thing I would say is that I made a connection way before I just popped up with my book. So I don't care who it is, Black owned, white owned, blue owned, like, make sure that you go in there and actually be a customer of the store, because, you know, especially if it's a small store, they know what, who's coming in and out of there. Like, oh, I always see this lady with her kids. Oh, I always see, she's always comes in here. She always buys a book, or she always, stops in. So you definitely want to be a customer of the store that you're going into. And I think most importantly is to choose a store that has your target audience, right? So who owns it doesn't really matter, but is your target audience coming into the store really important. And that's why I was talking about Barnes & Nobles. Like, for me, Barnes & Nobles is so huge. And, like, especially the one that I am in here is at the Grove, which I feel like is, tons of tourists probably going there. Like, it's not just everyday. It's not in an area that just everyday Californians are walking around. It's more so like visitors, because it's at the Grove, which is like a big touristy spot. And so a store like Barnes & Nobles has, I don't even know how many books they have. So many. It's like you are competing on a shelf with so many books. And so for me, going small, going indie, going local, where you can walk in, speak to the owner and say, hey, I'm so-and-so, I live nearby, I would love to get my books in your store. You build a connection, you build a relationship. I think those are the best partnerships to have.
Right. I think that's good, because I know when I got my book in Barnes & Noble, it was like a dream come true for me.
Yes.
But that's not, it's really kind of like social proof, not really
it's just,
I'm going to sell this many
bragging
books.
rights.
Right. Cool. Well, that is really awesome. I'm trying to think, anybody have any other questions you want to put in there?
I see a lot of people. Hey, Carl. I see my cousin join. I haven't talked to her forever.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, because it seems like it's kind of a relationship that you need to cultivate, really, to get your books in.
I recently, I don't know if you saw that, I did a signing on Christmas Eve at one of the bookstores that I'm at. Hey, Kelly. And that was an invite from the bookstore owner. He was like, yeah, I want you to come in, do a signing. And at first, I actually was scheduled to do a signing like on a different day, but I was like, oh, my book's not new. And so I didn't, I was nervous about like showing up for a signing and like no one being there. But for Christmas Eve, that was like gold, because everybody was in the mall. Like, there are always going to be people who have not done a thing of shopping. They're running through the mall like, oh my God, I gotta find. So like, I literally sold I sold out of all the books that I brought. Like, I had to leave, and people were like fighting over the last book. That's how crazy it was. So just having that partnership, that connection with the bookstore owner, like, he invited me there. And it's just kind of like, you help me, I help you. I'm always shouting them out. That's another thing I talk about in the course. Like, so you got your book in the store, but then how do you actually get the sale? Because you haven't made a sale until your book is actually in the hands of the customers and went through the register. And it's not just about getting in the store, but I think staying in the store is also key, because you can get your book in, but if the bookstore owner is not selling your book, he or she is not gonna call again and say, hey, can you drop off more? And that's my favorite, when I get that message that says, hey, can you, we sold out again, can you bring some more books by? That's like my favorite thing to get. So.
Right. So it's kind of like a partnership between the author and the bookstore.
Oh,
it's not something that ends once that book is on the shelf.
Exactly.
Right. Now, some people are asking about tips on pitching the bookstore owners. What are some suggestions to pitch the bookstore owner when you come in? How do you approach them? Do you write them a letter? What do you do?
So it's different. It's different for each store. So again, you have to feel it out. I'm in some stores that all I did was email. I did not actually meet them in person. And then I've emailed some people and then I've been ignored like forever. So in that case, I actually show up and like, here's my book. And that's also why I say it's important to start local. I wouldn't, like, I know because I'm in, I have posted that I'm in Malik Books. I know that a lot of my author friends have reached out there, but if you don't live in LA, it's kind of hard to make connections with a bookstore that you're like nowhere near. So start local where you are. And then email, and if they don't answer, also show up in person. But like I said, before all that, make sure that you are actually going to the store. Make yourself seen and known. Like let somebody see your face a couple of times before you just randomly show up with a book. And so build a connection before you actually reach out. And then always, big advice here, always talk to the manager. Always talk to the person in charge. Like, I don't want to call the employees haters, but I have found that, like, if you just walk in and you just ask the question, do you guys, sell local author books? No, we don't. But like, it's just they seem to be very short and like not very helpful, especially at Barnes and Nobles. They will not.
Right.
You have to speak to the head honcho, whoever is in charge, whoever makes those decisions, and not the employees, because they don't always know what's up. Some of them are helpful and some of them are not. So definitely you want to email or show up in person and stay local.
Right. And really you need to be persistent, I guess, because that's what I'm getting from you. Persistence is key.
Yeah. I mean, I don't like overdo it, and believe me, I have actually gotten no's. I'm not in, so I think there's like 5 major Black bookstores here in LA, and I may be in like 4 of them, and one was just like, oh, we're not interested. And if you're not interested, you're not interested, right? So right. I don't, at some point, I make the contact, I reach out, I make sure that did you read it? Did you see it? And if you're interested, you are. And if you're not, I keep it moving. So. Right.
So that's really good. That's good. So let's see. I think those are the main questions. So when you get in your course, you dig a little deeper, or do you work with them one-on-one, or how does that work?
I do offer one-on-one coaching, which I always recommend, because if you have deeper, further questions, we can get on a call or Zoom or however fits your schedule, and get really into the details and resources of your specific book, because I feel like every book is different. And I think one thing authors should know, like, although you're watching me and you might say, oh, I want to do some of the things that she's doing, I feel like every author, your path is different. Like I've talked about this on Clubhouse. Like, I know authors who are not heavy on social media, who are not, they don't do in-person events, they don't do any of those things, but they've sold 26,000 copies, last year of their book. They're heavy in the school system, or they are heavy on Amazon. They spend a ton of money on Amazon ads, and they rock it and they kill it, and that's how they're selling. So every person's path is different. You cannot, if you sit back trying to copy somebody, you're doing it wrong. What you have to find is what works best for you, for your schedule, for your book, what makes sense. It may not be the bookstore route. For you, it may just be Amazon. For you, it may be strictly becoming a vendor and getting into the school system. So I think the key is to find out what works for you and go hard on that.
Right. Well, that is a great ending to our conversation. That's key, because it's kind of customized to each author, and even your storyline, depending on what themes your books have. If they're based on something that fits more in the school system, they're more didactic or something like that. So it just depends on the type of book that you write.
Yes.
Now, where can we find you? I know we mentioned it earlier, but I want them to hear it again, where people can find you and connect with you if they want to continue to get all this great information.
Sure. You can find me here right on IG, Sharifa _Anozie. I'm also on, find me on the author Hive or on Clubhouse. Shoot me a DM. I'm always available for questions and helping people. So thank you all for tuning in. I saw we had a couple of questions too. So thank you guys for tuning in.
And thank you. And I definitely will be following you closely. I got on Clubhouse last year and I never did I got an invitation. Never did get on there. But I love all the information that you share on your Instagram page. So I'm going to get on your Facebook group too.
Yeah,
And
join us. We'd
keep
love to
learning.
have you. I love all the stuff you do too. Your books are great. So
Thank you. Thanks. I love those big eyes on those covers and those sweet. Your kids are just so sweet and precious. I love seeing all that you're doing. So
thank
thank you for all that you do. And thank you guys for joining us. And I hope that you will come back for next week. We're going to have, or I think it's the week after next, we're going to have an even more exciting show with another great author. So thank you for coming in for Write This, and I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.